welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I am your host, Jay,
Our co-host today.
our
So
host.
it's just Coco. So we'll probably talk a little bit more about the Sharks today because it's been a minute. But to start off, we want to talk about the weird thing that happened with Marc-Andre Fleury and his Native American heritage
Mask.
mask. Yes, thank you. I blanked. So, do you want to give your thoughts first?
The NHL needs to offer clarity on their ridiculous policy that came out of the PR nightmare that they experienced with the Pride Nights, and apparently the NHL does not enjoy fun and only enjoys inclusion as long as it doesn't actually start a conversation that does what diversity and inclusion is supposed to do. It's supposed to open doors and to welcome people in. And once people are in, you're to say that you're going to start this journey of being more inclusive and expanding on diversity, you can't just open up the door and the moment that people walk in thinking it's a safe space, the moment that there's any sort of pushback, you're supposed to rise to the occasion and you're supposed to step up and you're supposed to say, hey, this is for everybody, instead of what they did this past off season when they decided, well, because of all that, we're just not going to have the sweaters at warm-ups anymore because they pretty much just don't want to deal with what they had to go through. Like, the moment you have to deal with anything that comes along with stuff that us as queer folks, us as people of color have to deal with each and every day, the moment that you have to now step into our shoes, this is the reaction that you have in response to it. And after how many years of them doing this Hockey is for Everyone initiative, they come out with this, I don't even know what it's called at this point, like policy, a ban, a regression. We talked about how Travis Dermott, he was very vocal in his support to the queer community. He has folks in his life that, are part of the community, and it means a lot to him to support them. And he knows that he has a platform, however small it may be, because he is not an Austin Matthews. His job, there's things that we don't know exactly what happens behind the scenes, but we're aware of these things can happen. And he decided to risk that. And thankfully that started a conversation, I want to say, of, well, now we have what Marc-Andre Fleury, he just wanted to do something special for this Native American Heritage Night because his wife is Native, and it's a gorgeous mass. And I was talking to a couple of my friends about this because I was trying to process how I was feeling about how this all is coming about, because we knew that it wasn't going to just affect the queer community. They didn't want to come out and say it was because of Pride Night is the reason why they were going to backtrack from all this inclusion nights that they were having. So, but now we're seeing it happening with other um, inclusion initiatives. And I was saying to these friends that, he could have just decided, hey, I want to have this new mask. This is this cool design. If I would have seen it without any context, I would have been like, wow, that's a gorgeous mask. And it makes
It's so
sense
cute.
because his last name translates to flower. So obviously, flowers on his mask. But of course, there's significance behind it, and it empowers the meaning behind the design. And, as artists, it elevates the piece to know the inspiration behind it. And also, we've mentioned multiple times about how our opinions are with designs that are culturally appropriated.
Mm.
Yeah, the meaning is not there when you don't understand. You just think like, oh, this is a cute like design, and I want to claim it and
Mm-hmm.
put it into my art, but you have no idea the significance behind it. And so it was really nice to kind of see that being platformed, but then in the same breath, now we learn that, well, the NHL told Fleury and the Wild actually a couple months back that they thought, it would be fine if he wore it in warm-ups, but he was likely not going to be able to wear it during the game. Granted, Fleury was not going to start that game anyway, so it would just have been during warm-ups. But then the day of or the week of, when they were getting ready to do it, then he gets word from the NHL that they were like, well, no, you're actually not going to be able to wear it during warm-ups. So if you've told Fleury and you told the Wild months ago, this would be fine. Now he goes out and gets this artist, does this work on this mask, and then they're like, no, actually, no, we changed our mind. Like, what is this policy anyway? I have way more thoughts, but I want to kind of get, yours leading up to all this.
So, kind of going back to what you were saying about that the design has meaning behind it. This point has been made before, but I think it's worth bringing up that this design was actually created by someone of Native American heritage, right? The artist is named Cole Red Horse Taylor. We've said this so many times on the podcast before. When someone is a part of the community, they know how to do it, to design things appropriately, right? Because they're a part of that community. What they're doing is honoring their culture. Whereas there are certain designs / logos within the league um, that people complain about because, one, it's offensive. I don't care what you have to say, it is offensive. Two, it was not created by someone of that community, right? This was a white person who created this caricature logo of someone of Native American heritage. And so I think there's a couple double standards playing here, right? One is the heritage aspect of it, like the meaning behind the mask. It's like you said, it's a beautiful design. It's very simple. It's not noisy. It's not crowded. It's the colors that he used and just like the patterns. I don't know. It's so cute. I love it so much. Um, and then there's also the fact that you know Bobrovsky and Grubauer were able to wear the Hockey Fights Cancer helmets during games. And so you kind of question why there's a difference there. And I'm I can't say for sure what it is. My assumption is that one is like more like a team or league oriented type thing because it's the purple mask. Because we also heard that Logan Thompson wasn't allowed to wear a ribbon on his, like a sticker on his mask. And I think he wanted to wear a pink one. And that was more specific to breast cancer. And so the league is doing this weird thing where they have to make something feel more generic or like a more general cause, whereas, these other ones are more individualistic. This one is a personal meaning for Fleury because his wife is Native American, and he wanted to do something meaningful for her to represent that, right? Logan Thompson probably has someone in his family who is battling or has battled breast cancer. But like, why is it such a big deal? Like, if it's just bringing awareness to certain things in a good way, I don't really understand why it's not allowed.
What would the league do if someone of indigenous background was a goalie, and I'm thinking, of course, of Carey Price, wanted to design his goalie mask to have a design in, you know, in the context of his heritage? Because as we know, like there's very few things you can do in terms of um, expressing yourself out on the ice, in regards to like your equipment. Like we see, like well, I'm thinking more in terms of like a skater, like all the gloves are the same color. I mean, yeah, you could have preference on uh the type of
Brand.
brand, yeah. And then you see like on the Leafs, they've got like little smiley faces between like Nylander, Marner, and Matthews, and it's like a little thing like for them. You maybe see it in the way that people tape their sticks. I mean, sticks in themselves kind of have a bit of a personality to them, but ultimately the most personality that you're going to get is from a goalie mask, and we see it it's been done for years, and it's always really exciting to see a goalie who doesn't just kind of decide, just put whatever on it, and they've got something themed related to the team. And, like those in themselves, they can be cool, but it's like the ones that really stick out are the ones that they really put thought into them. And I know Carey's done a couple in the past. I don't recall if he's done anything like related to his culture, but those are always really fun to see. But yeah, that really got me thinking about how would the league handle that. And that's why I keep coming back to, what is this policy? Like the moment you put it out there, like there's nothing for anybody to like go off of. Like you did like the pride tape ban, and then Dermot decided to say fuck you, and then they were like, oh well, okay,
You're
our
right.
bad. We're in the wrong, and that whole mess. But like, I and maybe there's something out there, but right now, like from the conversations I've been seeing on socials and between, you know, friends that follow the league, like we're all in a bit of confusion. Like, what is actually going on? Like,
Yeah.
what, like,
Oh, also, what is the difference between something like this and someone like Capo Kapkinen, who has literally the Finnish flag on his mask? Right? That's an individualistic choice. That's
I mean, that in itself, like, that's what I'm kind of like getting at. These goalie masks, like, we have all these, like, what is the policy? Because if you're saying, like, oh, we don't want to, promote something or whatever. I saw like people saying like, well, maybe if it's not in relation to, like you said, Logan Thompson wanted to have like the breast cancer ribbon on. That's like, oh well, we're raising awareness of all cancers here, so let's not, like, so it's outside of the context of like what the NHL has decided that their inclusion events are all about, right? um so by not having something that people can kind of like reference, then okay, well, in the past there's been a goalie it has like Marvel stuff. Are we advocating to promote Marvel? Is that part of the policy? Like where is the line? Because right now, like, there's no reference for anybody to go off of. And goalie masks have been designed year after year with really like, we haven't seen anything that's saying like you can't do this and that, but suddenly now we're seeing it with the retraction of these, like having the representation like actively on the ice.
Yeah. It's interesting that when these things keep happening, I feel like there's more and more people who complain about it. Like, what is this? Makes no sense, right? So there's more people on our side on these conversations. Currently, I don't know if you saw, but Fleury was able to put the mask up for bid for
Yeah, I got like
I forget what,
$15,000.
15.6. So yeah, it's up there
I
as
don't
of
have
like
that kind of money to be
2 hours
spending
ago.
ever.
I forget which organization they're donating to, but that is a lot of money going
They should make
towards
like
them.
little replicas. I would love to have that like in my
Yeah,
work
it's
cube.
so cute. I want one. I would. Yeah, I
For
don't
all
know.
the Minnesota Wild representatives listening to this podcast, get on it. I want a mini replica of that mask. It's really cool. And then I also wanted to point out, just 2 years ago, Braden Holtby had his mask designed by
Yeah.
an Indigenous artist. I don't think any like massive world disasters happened when Braden Holtby wore that all season.
Yeah.
But now,
There
no,
there
no,
was
no.
a
Fleury
there
can't
was
wear this
controversy.
Indigenous mask. Well, the design of it initially, there was controversy, but
Right.
then he wore it the whole season. Like, no problem. Granted, it was a terrible season for the Canucks, so maybe that's a natural disaster. But the mask in itself did
Oh,
nothing
it was
to
really
like,
good.
cause
Yeah.
anything that needed to be worried about.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
This
just
league
all
makes no
stupid.
sense. It
It's
makes no
all
sense.
stupid.
It is.
I would love to see
Anyways,
Flower wear that during a game.
he did. He did. Well, he wore it for
Dur-
warm up still.
yeah, but during a game, because why not?
Just
Just do it. Just do it. Apparently, they were gonna like like the NHL. I don't know who's making these decisions, but you threatened to find them, and then whatever happened after the fact, they were like, "Okay, we're
just
not gonna
kidding.
find you."
I don't know. It's annoying. Anyways, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with Sam Girard, because if any of you have not heard, it was announced that he was going to be on leave from the team and joining the what is it called, the players program.
Yeah, the NHL/NHLPA Players Assistance Program.
Perfect. So he's joining the assistance program. He put out a statement. I'll read it. So he says, I have made a proactive decision to take care of my mental health and will be entering treatment for severe anxiety and depression that has gone untreated for too long and led to alcohol abuse. Taking care of your mental health is of the utmost importance, and I encourage everyone to speak up and seek help should you feel like you need it. I want to express my gratitude to my wife, family, friends, the club, my teammates, and the fans for their patience, understanding, and continued support. So, I don't want to say this is a big deal, but it's an important thing because I feel like a lot of times when you hear that a player is going to join the assistance program, there isn't a lot of details that come out that just says that they're going to enter the program. Sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they won't until after they come back. I think it's important that he said that it is specifically for severe anxiety and depression. I feel like we both know what that's like. When you get to a really bad spot, it is really, really hard to continue doing your like anything, your daily life, right? It becomes very overwhelming. So good for him for seeking help. Good for him for being able to talk about it, because some people feel shame, you know. They try to do this on their own. Sometimes, like I guess he was abusing alcohol. That's always not great. You know, you some people try to find ways to cope with these things in a not healthy way, but it's nice to see that he's getting help now.
Well, I'm happy to see that he's seeking help and, it hasn't gotten much worse than it already is. And just from what I've seen with the Avs in the past, like, was it for like 2 seasons? Like Bowen Byron was out with concussion, and they were really good about, it seemed like they were going about it in the right way. Um, and I think if anything, these are one of like the nice things that I like about the NHLPA, that they have this program in place, and I feel like we've been seeing it being used more lately, which I think, while it's not great that it needs to be used more, I'm happy that it it is being taken advantage of. Um, yeah, I mean, outside of that, I don't really have too much else to say outside of whatever is ailing him. I hope he can get the care that he needs.
Yeah. It's always, mental health is so important. We talk about it all the time. Take care of yourself, guys. On a more frustrating note, do you want to go ahead and talk about this next?
Um, Trouba's a polarizing player to me because I'm not the biggest fan of his on ice activity. And I've been thinking about this and other things and stuff related to the bigger picture about how the physicality of the game is something that I both enjoy and find very frustrating, largely with the response that we see from the league. Um, and I've been thinking about it more lately because of the response that I saw during the tragedy that occurred with Adam Johnson. Um, I kind of had to step away from that conversation for a while because I felt like, mostly in terms of like social media, because there's just like a lot of people just spewing, their own opinions out there, and then, in terms of the person who was also affected in that accident, the racism that appeared to also be added to the conversation. And we know when that kind of comes into play, like people's opinions, whether it's like, um what's the word I'm looking for, where people don't realize that they are being racist, like as much as they think that they're not influenced by someone's color, their behaviors are otherwise. So it's just like a lot of that was going on, and I felt like I wasn't able to like really process my opinions on what occurred and how I feel about this sport on a professional level. And so that's what I think about when I see stuff like this, mainly not in regards to the high stick that occurred yesterday, but just Trouba's on ice behavior in general. Like, people, every time there's a big hit or whatever, people are like, "Oh, great, clean hit, clean hit." And I'm like, "What is clean about it?" Like, I understand that in terms of whatever's written in the rule book, it's clean. But and then people go, well, he should just keep his head up. Well, there was an occurrence from, I don't remember who it was against. I want to say it was Detroit. There was a player that got the puck stuck in like his skates. So in that situation, I'm thinking you're not keeping your head up, right? I'm thinking you're looking down at your skates to try and get the puck. Or like, what is the priority? Should you be like, well, I shouldn't look down because I'm sure Trouba's around here somewhere, right, ready to knock me into the next world. But when that happened, like, I'm not saying that Trouba is meaning to hurt people, because we also see that term being like thrown around. Oh, there was no intent to injure, and like, to go back to how I was feeling during the Adam Johnson like conversation, people were being like, oh, the other guy meant to do that. He meant to do that. I watched the video. Like, first of all, I don't know how you can watch that video and then come back and tell me like, well, I've analyzed it. I'm like, you watch someone get sliced and you're like, well, here's my opinion about it. Like, I can't even watch that video. And I definitely won't be coming back to you and like talking to you about my feelings about what that guy in that instance that you learned about just the other day may or may not have been doing in this game that has become so much faster, and the physicality of it, like we apparently are fearful that if we take more action to mitigate the severity of some of these hits, that we're taking away from the game. And so with Trouba, like, I hope that the NHLPA actually takes a step forward and tries to actually get some of this stuff out of this sport, because a fine of $5,000, like, that would be horrible for me as like an everyday person. But somebody who's making, I don't remember how much he's making more than enough, that he's not even going to feel that. He's not even going to think twice about doing that. And I watched the high stick again right before we came on. I'm not saying he meant to do that. I understand that there was like they were back, whoever, I can't remember who he hit. It's not like they didn't interact at all and he came in swinging. They were back and forth. They were trying to, get their space. And someone said like, oh, well, if you look at it, Trouba's off balance. And so he had to swing his body that way um, to regain balance. Well, they need to set a better standard. If you're trying to get, obviously, don't hit someone in the head with your stick. I don't care about if there was intent. I don't care about if there's necessarily a history behind anything, because we know that never pans out. But do you actually care that he hit him in the head? Because I don't think he's going to realize that you care with just taking $5,000 away from him, regardless of if he meant to do it or not. Because even I was thinking back to when that game this past whatever day, when LeBanc went down with the slew foot from Hoglander, and people were having that same conversation about like, well, he didn't intend to hurt LeBanc, and he got around the same ballpark fine. But if we go back a couple of seasons to when Erik Karlsson got 2 games for contact to the head, I don't remember who the player was. We know Erik Karlsson's not going out there with the intent to injure people, but we do acknowledge that he should be suspended because he checked someone in the head. I just find this whole like inconsistency very frustrating, when all these instances somebody could be severely injured, but because they're not dead, we're like, oh, that's nothing. We'll just give them a slap on the wrist.
Mm. I want to go back to your comment about the Lebanc Coglander Slewfoot incident, and I wish Drew could have made it today because I wanted to ask them a little bit about that incident. Because when I watched it, immediately I knew it was a Slewfoot. Right? You see it; it's like blatantly a Slewfoot. But at the time, I was watching the Canucks broadcast, and those announcers are very biased, and I didn't realize it because I don't listen to anyone. Usually I don't listen to any other broadcasts other than our own, but I decided to switch it because their stream was ahead of the Sharks one, uh, and so it happened. LeBanc went down, and then they're talking, and then they realize that there's going to be a penalty on the play, and one of the announcer goes, "For what?" And then they're watching the slow motion replay of it, and he goes, "I don't see anything." Well, I guess there's a little bit of something there. It's like, are we watching the same thing? Like, you can see him lifting his leg behind LeBancs and literally dropping him to the ice.
Like I said, I don't think Hoglander was intending to do that. Just from
but it happened.
me not know. Yeah, but it happened. Just like in that same, I think it was that same game. Who knows anymore? Ferraro came in and ended up boarding somebody. I think it was, and I went, "Oh, that's a bad penalty for Ferraro to take." I'm not going to be like, "Oh no, Ferraro didn't do anything wrong because Ferraro is my favorite player." Like, no, we shouldn't go do that. Just like last game, Elias Pettersson came in and checked Kalen Addison. I thought that was a fine hit. He just ended up getting a bigger impact. Addison ended up getting like a bigger impact from that because he was just he wasn't like, if he was skating up the boards to get the puck and Pettersson was coming at him from the side and then he would just get like smushed up against the board. Pettersson was coming right in front of him and pushed him back. So obviously he doesn't have a way to, from when he released the puck to when Pettersson came at him, he has no way of bracing himself. So I felt like it looked worse than it otherwise would have been. And I didn't feel like there was anything like, oh, hit him in the head, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. Now, Benning came in, right? Because he didn't like it. And I can't blame him for it. But then at the same time, then we ended up on the PK. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I kind of like that Benning came in to be like, you can't do that. But then obviously there was mixed opinions on socials. People being mad at Pettersson, people being mad at Benning, XYZ, whatever. And it just made me think back to like the whole Lander thing where I'm just like, some people need to take off the glasses, the Homer glasses sometimes, because yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about some fun stuff. When was this? 2 days ago. What's today? Sunday. Friday. So Friday, the Preds had a game. And during warm-ups, there was a fan in the stands that had a sign. And it says, number 77, will you go to prom with me? With cutouts of the player's face. I don't know who the player is.
Luke Evangelista.
Okay. And so this fan is wearing a shirt that says "I heart Luke," and this fan also happens to be a man. And then like the Preds posted this with a video of, sorry, what's his last name?
Evangelista.
Evangelista. I think the moment that he noticed the sign, and he gets kind of like flustered. It's really cute. He's like, "Oh," and he waves at the fan. I ship it.
Okay, my initial reaction was, is this his family like trolling him?
I don't know, but it's
But if
funny.
it's not, like, I love it. Either way, I love it. I think I love in itself, regardless if it's trolling or is it like a legit fan came and, you know, wants Luke to go to the prom with him. On top of the Preds actually sharing it on their socials, I think it's great.
I just like his little like shy smile and wave. That's
I
cute.
like that was his response. I thought,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess it makes you wonder if he knows him. Unless, no, I'm just kidding. All the conspiracy theories.
Did you see? I think
Yes.
the Preds.
No.
I think the Preds retweeted it, or they actually put it on their socials, or maybe it just ended up on my feed because I follow these accounts.
Mm-hmm.
But George Kittle is obviously a Nashville Predators fan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he was at the game. I want to say he probably was. He was decked out in like Preds gear and whatever. But Philip Forsberg has been just killing it out there on the ice, and I only know of him because I needed to pick up somebody and he was trending, and I was like, he looks like he's good. He's on the first power play on like the first line. Apparently this is not his usual thing to be like lighting the lamp left and right, but I think he got, no, I don't think he got a hat trick, but he did really well during a game. And George Kittle like made a video of him just being like shouting like Philip Forsberg, just decked out in like Preds gear and his like yellow tinted glasses, and he has been showing up on my feed so much lately. And you know, as Niners fans, we love him, but he's just been everywhere. He's been on like rooting for the Preds. He BayFC had him make a video to I think it was prior to them announcing their first signing of the season. So we love the Bay Area Unite. On top of the Iowa Wild having their, I'm assuming it was a Star Wars night, and they had a themed jersey with a Wookiee and decked out in like hockey apparel, which I ended up buying a shirt.
They're so cute.
Because they are adorable, and he tweeted at them, "Can I please get one?" So they better give
Pay
him
for it.
one because he
He
will
has
wear the
money.
shit out of that.
Bid for it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure if they wanted him to buy it, he would. But I just hope that they hooked him up somehow.
Yeah. Those are so cute. The little Chewbacca with the hockey stick. But it's like, I don't know how to describe the style that they drew it in. It's just very cartoony, like a very cute, cartoony Chewbacca. I'm not a Wild fan of any kind, but I would get one. If I could. I would. Okay. We've made it to Sharks content. How are we feeling? I
I'm
feel like right
taking
now
it game by game.
they're getting like one win a week, which is an improvement.
This whole season is just going to be a roller coaster ride. I'm just hoping that they can take some momentum from last game and build upon it, but as we've seen, that's not
Yeah.
always the case. And and then Quinn gets mad, and and then Sharks fan base wants to fire Quinn and fire Mike Greer. Like, um, it's funny because prior to Granlund making that amazing coast to coast goal when they were 4-on-4, I was actually thinking how meh I felt about it. and it and I'm it's not like the Sharks are doing anywhere close to well that any one of these guys like he doesn't stick out as like, oh, he's the problem. Everybody's the problem right now. Their consistency, granted, there's a couple of folks that maybe are not like our goaltenders, like they're trying their absolute best to keep the team in the game. um Last night, I think it was during like the first period where we could just not keep the puck for more than like 2 seconds. Like the amount of eye rolls that I was doing where we're like, oh, we're getting somewhere, and then we turn it over. With each game, I'm like, is the defense bad or are we actually good? And it takes like about a like maybe half a period to kind of, you know, the teams to establish themselves, maybe, or maybe the Sharks need to get their heads out of their ass, whatever it is. But it just seemed like he was sticking out the most to me last night. And that's kind of why I was thinking, like, as a whole, I haven't my feelings of whether this was a good signing or not. I yeah, I wasn't really sure how I felt about Granlund. I mean, even though he made this goal last night, okay. So what else you got for us?
Yeah. I feel okay, so almost every game it feels like Nate and I are always talking shit about him. Because from the games that I've been able to catch, he sticks out in not a good way. He's slow out there, he's making dumb plays, he's turning the puck over constantly. Sometimes he'll make a decent play, but they're like so far in between, right? But last night he played his heart out, and he was rewarded for it because that was an amazing play. When I realized who had done it, I was like, no way. That's not him. Oh, he's not my favorite signing this season, but I will give him credit for what he did last night because he ended up getting first star for his contribution to the win. The Sharks, I feel it feels fun to watch them right now, whereas the last like 2-3 weeks it's been torture. Like they've been so out of sync. It's like literally watching little leaguers out there. Sometimes they don't know what they're doing, they're getting in their own heads really easily, they're all over the place, like they forget how to defend. They're just, it doesn't make sense how they're a team in the NHL sometimes. But at least the last couple of games, they seem like they're finally playing with some fire under them again, and like they're trying to get something done. They're still making a lot of mistakes, but they don't give up on the play as easily, which is really nice to see, and it makes the games more entertaining. So I'm glad that they got a win. They lost Friday, but at least they got a point for overtime shenanigans. I really thought they were gonna win that game. Because I wasn't expecting them to win last night.
It's because I left Cole Caulfield on my bench. He got mad.
Well,
Um, the signings that I have liked have been Emberson. Like, I think he's really kind of like over the last couple of games since he's been paired with Ferraro. I mean, as a whole, like you said, there's still a lot of mistakes being made, but I feel like that's been a good pairing for Ferraro. I've liked
do you forget?
Burrows.
Oh,
I liked Burrows. Um, There's a forward that I'm trying to think of. Now I need to look at our roster.
I think my favorite so far, outside of our usuals, is Zetterland. I really like how he plays. I've talked to Jude about this because, we talk about ex Devils and ex Sharks on each other's team now. Um, he doesn't play a style of hockey that I'm used to seeing any of the Sharks prospects playing. So it's a bit refreshing to see him. And I don't even know how to describe his play. I just know that he is very determined out there and he has a wicked shot. When he gets that puck off his stick, it's like a laser. It's so fun.
I've actually been surprised with the coming again of Ryan Carpenter. Because I remember when we had him a while back, like, I mean, I know it was much earlier in his career, he was just kind of like I don't even remember where we played him, but I think, from my memory of him, he would have probably been like a bottom 3 or 4, which he still is, but he's more of a consistent player. I feel like even though we're still struggling to get consistency, I have liked like all 4 of our lines. There's been some games where even like the bottom 2 have had more impact than our top 2 lines. I thought it was funny that the day after that video came out of them, I think it was like after Thanksgiving or something, where the social media team was having them say like who they're thankful for. And Eklund said Hoffman and Zetterlund said Eklund. And then and then Zetterlund wasn't on the first line anymore. Like, oh, drama. we found the problem. Zetterlund's sad that Eklund's not thankful for him.
Wow. I love their friendship. Zetterlund and Eklund. They're like besties.
And then I'm happy with the Blackwood signing.
So far, yes. Do you think?
I don't have an opinion either way whether we trade him or keep him, because at this point, like, we still have several more seasons before we become relevant again.
Mhm.
And I don't think Greer's going to push the needle sooner than he feels that they're ready to, especially with the direction that he's kind of going in with all these signings. One of my friends is like really likes Blackwood and really wants us to keep him, and I'm like, but we're gonna trade him, right? And speaking of that, like the Oilers, they look like they're a little desperate right now. They're looking for a goaltender because I think my friend said something about if we traded for Campbell because we have cap space, and then just like get a whole bunch of like draft picks from them. Like, how much do you want this goaltender that has been proven to deal with a horrendous defense in front of him and somehow can like keep like 50 goals out of the net, like 50 shots out of the net? Salivating. Enticing.
Yeah. Well, I guess. I don't think the Sharks need any more help tanking. They're doing just fine even with a steady goaltender. So I don't know. I haven't really thought too much about it, but I wouldn't be surprised either way if we keep him or if we flip him.
Well, Kakkonen is a UFA this upcoming season. So I would find it really interesting what we're going to do, because Blackwood has another year after this.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't necessarily have to trade him, but it would be like the fact that we've signed him for what he's currently making, and the whole you can have like a whole season for, afterwards and not have to think about it so much if we were to trade him, versus Kapanen's a bit more of we are making an active decision that we still have confidence that you can help us out in the upcoming, like the future of the franchise and whatever. So I think it'll be interesting what's going to happen during around the trade deadline. I'm anticipating any scenario at this point. But in general, like I know we've been told about Blackwood. I think just in general, I feel more confident with the way that he moves around in his crease. Like sometimes the way that Kakinen moves around, I'm like,
get back over.
But I do feel more at ease watching Blackwood move in the crease. It looks like he does it without thinking, and it's done in a way that his body already knows where to hit his points and everything like that. Which I think it would be a really great addition for the Oilers if they
one Blackford for one Leon Draisaitl, please.
Yeah, and a ton of picks. How badly do you need a goaltender? Yeah.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Tomas Hertl. I feel like he is carrying this team alone on his back. He is lifting everyone up with his leadership and his smile. I don't know if you've been paying any attention to him, but he's doing a lot for these youngsters and all these new guys. And I seriously think that he deserves the captaincy. I'm not being biased. I'm a little biased, but I feel like he's doing so much, and like we haven't heard of what's going on with Couture in like 2 weeks. Just like there's no timetable for him to come back, so might as well give the captaincy to someone else. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I agree with you, but I'm like, yeah, that would be messed up.
It would be, but also he deserves it. Hertl, not Couture.
Yeah.
Did you notice that there's no blah, blah, blah. You know how when there isn't a captain in the team, they usually give a third person an A, so you can have 3 assistants? I haven't noticed the third person.
That's what the Leafs were doing for a while before they gave Tavares the C.
Yeah, but I haven't seen any other Shark wearing an A. At least I haven't noticed. It's just Hertl and Ferraro.
But that actually reminded me, if you didn't notice, go back to after Granlund scores that goal. Ferraro just comes over and is just like, I love you so much. He just came over and was just like, yay! I'm like, you are so adorable.
Okay, I wanted to talk briefly about prospects. Because, as we know, because the Sharks suck, we are looking to the future currently. And these past couple days, games, not one, but 2 Sharks prospects had hat tricks. And that is exciting to see. The first one was Quinton Musty against the London Knights on Friday night. And then the second one was Holtinen. What's his first name? Casper Holtinen, who plays for the London Knights, got his hat trick last night. And that's so exciting. I can't wait for like these guys to make it to the team, and then we finally start seeing some production. And I am very impatient to see the Sharks play well again.
You are.
I am.
You are.
That's it. That's all you have to say.
Okay. Well, I'm acknowledging that yes, you are. You are very impatient. Just as long as you don't jump on the fire Quinn, fire Mike Greer train.
Oh no, it's too soon for fine. That. I'm not that impatient.
Oh, and then I also want to acknowledge again that the addition of Kalen Addison, continuing to love it, still loving it. I think he's had a couple of assists already since we acquired him. So, all good on the defensive front.
Improvements.
Consistency is the major issue right now. I don't know. I think that's all I've got.
Me too.
Okay. As always, I'm your host, Jay.
And I'm Nessa. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Bye.